Hello, friends. YouTube says we are live, says we have sound, so we are good to go. Welcome to 3 on Thursday with Crafters Northwest. My name is Michelle, and I am here to show you how you can make these fun three fun cards, whatever, with the stuff that you have at home. So I will be using Stampin' Up! Products. However, you are welcome to use any products that you have at home. So, because I am a new demonstrator, I do not have a ton of products. So you will see some of the same products over and over again until my stash builds up a little bit. So thank you so much for taking time from your day to spend with me watching this video, whether you be here live with me Thursday evenings at 5 p.m. Pacific, or if you're watching at another time. I really do appreciate you taking that time. So today, all three cards will be using sentiments from the Simply Said stamp set. And so you can see I've used a few of these already. We used some last week. And let me move this out of the way. And I just wanted to show you. They do come on sheets like this, varying sizes, depends on the stamp set and how many stamps are in it. But you do have a harder plastic and a super soft thin plastic. So this plastic is slightly thicker than what you would see on like the inside of a pasta box on the windows. And then this other plastic is thick like shaker window thick. So a lot of people will save these for that purpose actually. So the stamps come in a case that has a printed cover. I don't know what word I was looking for there. And on the back side of that cover, at least for the photopolymer stamps, they do have all of the stamps there, and they are backwards for a reason, because that is how you would put the stamps on your block, right? So basically what you're going to do is you're going to take them off of your sheet. You don't have to. You can leave them on your sheet and just put them in the box. That works too. But my stamps, I am going to store like this. And I haven't done it like this yet because I wanted to show you guys kind of how that works. And it's super simple, easy, fast. And yeah, now we are all done. With the exception, of course, of the ones that I do have on blocks for tonight's card class. So we can keep this for something else. I'll just set it off to the side. So the a few other things I wanted to share with you before we start. Hello, Rhonda. Welcome. Last week, I believe I gave kind of a super quick rundown of some of the things that I have. I have gotten a few more things since then, and I just kind of wanted to show you what they are and kind of talk about them for just a short bit before class. I promise I won't take too long. So I did get the little mini machine. So this is the Stampin', what is this? Hold on, let me get the right words. I gotta make sure to do this the right way, right? We gotta give out the correct information. I do not have the book memorized yet. Oh, look, there it is. All right, so this is the mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. Okay, so and the camera's kind of close today, so I did have my book bound. So the book is your typical 8.5 by 11 book. So as you can see, it is shorter than that, right? And it opens. This might be loud on the microphone. I apologize if it is. Right? So both sides open like that. Okay. And it's got a handle The handle doesn't fold in or anything like that, but the machine is a pretty good little workhorse. And what I really like about it is it's light. Like, this is kind of crazy light. I'm really impressed. So, you have seen me in the past. Right, I do love the machine that Close My Heart came out with. I love it. It's great. Am I going to get rid of it? Probably not. But you have also seen me pull out, let me see if I can get them both in here, this little Sidekick, right? So this is larger than this, but I also wanted to point out the size of the plates. So this is the size for the Sidekick plate. And if we do a quick measurement, it's 2 5/8 by 5. Okay, so you can get a 2.5 by 5, 2.5 by however long you want, but your die can't be any longer than 2.5 by 5. Probably 2.5 by 4.5 because it's tapered at either end, right? So here, let me move these out of the way so I have a little bit more room to show you guys. These are the plates. It did not come with this envelope. I was using that envelope. So it comes with all of these plates. All right, you get your base plate, you get number 2 plates. Those are your cutting plates. Traditional, just like any other machine essentially, okay? And then you have 3 and 4, which are 2 different plates for embossing, right? For your regular embossing and your 3D embossing. Plus you get a little booklet. This much is in English, the rest is in the other languages that Stampin' Up! Puts out. However many that is, I don't know, like 8 or something, I don't know. It's a lot. I can only read one, so. So this little machine, it's great. These do fit in one of these envelopes, so if you have thin cuts that you put with your stamps, that would be great for that. I don't think you can fit all of them in there. Well, let's just see. Technically, you can fit them all in, but obviously you could not close it. So, if you had 2, you could do 2. Although they probably fit in one of the bigger ones. I have not yet gotten a die cut that has a larger envelope. And if it has a larger envelope, it's probably going to stay in that larger envelope. Anyway, so it's super handy. So these are, I believe they're 3.5, just a smidge under 3.5 by longer than 6 inches. Let's see. Oh, let's see. What, 7 3/4? Let's see. It does not say here. It might say online. But I have another ruler right here. Buried. All right. So end to end it is 7 inches, but again tapered, so 6.5 is a safe bet. You can do a hair over. It's like a 16th over. So that is those. Right, so that is embossing. And then we have glue. I have most of, but I do not have all of the glue options. Right, so some of these we talked about last week. There's the Tombow, which we are familiar with. It's coming from Close to My Heart. There are 2 Stampin' Seal products. One is Seal with no plus, and then there is Seal Plus. Okay, there is a difference between them. The Seal is what you would, it is slightly stronger, but would be equal to the Tombow. So if you were using Tombow Runner before, or Close to My Heart Runner before, you would use the Stampin' Seal Runner. And we'll talk about using that when we get to the cards. Okay, Seal Plus would be for things that are heavier usage. So if you wanted something that moves, you could use this. If it's going to move a ton, then you want to use the Tear and Tape, which we did talk about last week because I got a smaller width of it in my paper pumpkin. So it's the same stuff. This one is the regular size. I've not used any off of here, so this is the size that you get. Let's see, 27 yards by 1/4 inch. So that is that. But you could use this on like some small boxes, like desk treat boxes for retreats or office gifts or things like that. But if you wanted to make a bigger box or maybe a mini album, I would suggest using the Tear and Tape. Okay. Then of course we have the Stampin' Dimensionals. We did talk about these last week. There is a smaller version as well. I do not have those. And then there is black foam, and I do not have those. Okay. But they're the same shape. And then there is the fine tip glue pen. And I don't know, can you see how liquid that is? If you look down here, you can see how easily that moves. Versus the liquid glass, which it's a much thicker liquid. And this one does come with a fine tip, and it does have the needle on it. I do believe it will clog less than the one we came out with Close to My Heart, because this glue is a much thinner glue. I've not played with it yet. I will, but all right. So I'm gonna keep this out because I want to play with that. And then I wanted to point out inks. So you have 3 styles of ink pad that you can get. Okay, so you have the Memento ink, right? So Memento StazOn has the same style of pad, although the Memento does not have that extra enclosure inside of it. You have your traditional Stampin' Up! Ink pad, and then you have some spots. And you can get the spots inked or uninked. And if you get them uninked, obviously you want re-inker to put in there. Okay. So here is a quick tip for you. I'm going to go ahead and close this. To open these, here is the secret. Turn it around, and you're going to push with your thumbs, and this is how I have a hold of it on the back side, right? So I'm going to pinch it like this, but when I'm pinching, I'm going to push the pressure towards this edge. I'm not going to push up, like I'm not doing this, I'm doing this essentially, but my thumbs will not move. That's just the pressure, okay? So we're just going to squeeze. I'll do that again because of course it was off camera, right? We're going to squeeze. Just like that. That's how you're going to start it. And then you're going to open and slide. To get it to move again, there is a little grip here. It's best if you can do both. Push on the non-grip end and pull on the grip end. And then close it. And make sure it snaps. Okay. You do have stickers on the back side. They clearly are in multiple languages. So you can put a sticker here. And then you can also put a sticker in here. Right, there is 2 different thicknesses of the cut stickers. Right, this one here is the regular size, and then down here there's one with no words, and it's just a smaller one, so it fits in there. Rhonda said she watched a ton of Stampin' Up! YouTubes. Yeah, so here's, like, this is the secret. And I'm going to share that glue secret when we get there. Okay? But just sit here and practice. Just doing this. Maybe not near a spouse. That might annoy them if you do it too much. Okay. Onward. I will be using the Something Fancy dies on 2 of the cards today, and actually on all 3 cards. So all 3 cards have both of these. Pretty cool. There's a tilt. Let me fix the tilt. One moment, please. Close your eyes if you get seasick or car sick. Much better. Okay. You may peek now. All right. Let's go with easy for card number 1. I have not done any envelopes because I do not have any envelopes. Oh, before we get to card 1 though, we need to do a step. 2 steps. So, if you came with me from Close to My Heart or are watching and have come from Close to My Heart, you are used to having card bases and card envelopes as an option, period, as an option, right? Your traditional A2 cards, your 5x7, your slimline. Currently, there are not a ton of those options with Stampin' Up! So, all of these purple tags are cards and or envelopes. Okay, so I wanted to go through them super quick with you so I can explain them, because some of them are not what you might expect. All right, so page 17, number 8, your blank canvas. So these are basic white note cards and envelopes. You do get 20 of each in your pack. However, they are not A2 sized. These are smaller cards and envelopes. They are note cards. So these would be the envelopes that we would use when we went to camp as kids or whatnot. That was what most of our mail came in when we were younger. Most of us, depending on who's watching. So they are a smaller size. I have made cards this size in the past, although it has been a bit. So these are a smaller card. So if you get them, just know that you can mail them as this size. It is perfectly okay to do that. It's the same price as your regular A2 size card and envelope, right? Okay. Next, we have Sunny Springs and Calming Creek cards and envelopes. So both of these individually are 5 packs. You get 5 cards and 5 envelopes in the pack. They're $8 each. The cards are pre-printed on the front and they're white on the back. So if you wanted, you could cut them apart and you could get 10 cards if you add them to a card base. You would still only have 5 regular envelopes. So, and as you can see, those envelopes are also printed. They are printed to match the card base itself. And they're meant to go with the ephemera pack and whatnot. Okay, but they are your A2 size cards that you are used to using. Next, we have the basic white assorted Memories and More cards and envelopes. Okay, these are meant specifically to be used with the Memories and More card packs. So we from Close to My Heart know these as PML cards, and I did show these last week. These are cards that are either 3x4, sorry, off camera, that's what happens when I make it closer, or 4x6. Okay, And I believe 4x6 is the traditional size, the average size of cards in Australia. So Pauline will have to let me know, or anybody else for that matter. So these card bases, you do get 10 of each size. You get cards that once folded, obviously, make 3x4 cards and 4x6 cards. So you can use these. You will not have a frame around it. It will be this full size. Okay. So 10 each, 3x4, 10, 4x6. And the coordinating envelope sizes to match those. Okay, so again, those are not the 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. If you wanted to, you could cut the 4x6 down to 4 by 5 1/2. I don't know why you would, but you could. And then that would be close to what you're used to. Obviously, it would still be a little bit different because it's not 4 1/4. All right, next up. You can't see them very well on this page, but this is where they are shown in the book. You have your regular sized envelopes that you are used to getting. So they are basic white, medium envelopes is what they call them, what we call them. And you get 40 envelopes for $11. So these are the envelopes that would fit your cards that you're used to making. If you're a card maker, I mean, I guess there is that qualification. So they are the traditional A2 size cards. Then you have gorgeous gold, brushed gold cards and envelopes. And this design that you see here is printed on the front and the back. So again, you could cut this apart and have two separate card fronts. You would not have enough envelopes for that, but you could do that. And you do get 20 cards and 20 envelopes in this set for $12. And it is a shiny gold. It's a gold foil print on the card. And then last but not least is what is called a clear medium envelope. So this is an envelope that I think many of us would picture as using to put your cards in to sell at a bazaar or in a shop. I am unsure if they actually fit the envelope in there as well, or if it is the envelope, which you can mail things in clear envelopes as well. So there is that. But a lot of times what will happen is they have been used to create shaker cards. So here they've created a full front shaker card with that envelope. Here you can see they have put it behind a card front to, I guess if I moved it you could see it, to create a shaker card. And they what they have done is they have put the purple inside card into that envelope, and then they have adhered that envelope to the card base itself after inserting the fun bits and bobs. Okay, and then have adhered that front to the front of that clear envelope. And then down here is a shaker card that those from Close to My Heart are familiar with, in that it is circle and round and whatnot. Okay, hopefully that helps a little bit. Let's see, I had two tabs up here for, that one is for paper, and then this one is the other spot that you can see that clear envelope being used as a shaker card. Again, they did the same as that purple one, that they put some cardstock inside of it, put the shaker bits in it, sealed it up, attached it to the card base, and then attached the front on top of it. All right, so the papers that we're going to use today, only two of them are, no, only one of them is in this book. I guess technically two of them are. So we will be using the Country Woods paper. I love this paper, and I showed it last week. And then if you go back here to one of these tabs, which tab was it? Not that, must be this. So this paper here is the Perennial Lavender that's shown. It was actually, excuse my reach, the other two papers were in this mini catalog. And here's the stamp set that matches the paper. So Nature's Sweetness, so we are using this. I do not have the stamp set, but it is beautiful, or either of the stamp sets rather. I do like them both, but like many of you, I do have a budget. And when it comes to crafting, it's never as large as I would like it to be. Right? You guys feel me there, right? And then the other one is right here, Perennial Lavender. And again, I did show this one last week, so if you wanted to go take a look at that, you could. All right, now that you know what we're going to be playing with, let's play with it. Oh wait, again, we need to do one more thing first. We need some card bases. So I do have the thick basic white cardstock. It's 8.5 by 11. And I'm going to go ahead and grab 2 sheets. You can use any Stampin' Up! Cardstock to do this. You can cut your 12 by 12 down to 8.5 by 11 if you would like. Alright, so we are going to, we're going to put our paper in here. You can do this one of 2 ways depending on what fold you want for your card. So we're going to do one each in each way. Okay, so the first one we're going to put in our trimmer, or if you have it, you can use your Simply Scored scoreboard. And we are going to, with the short side along the top, come to 4 1/4, and we're going to score. Right, I'm going to pull that out. On the other piece, with our long side along the top, we are going to put this in at 5 1/2. And we're going to score that. Then what you're going to do is you're going to cut in the opposite direction. I know you can't see them scored, but we're going to cut in the opposite direction. So this one we scored this way, so we're going to cut this way. So always with the short across the top, it's 4 1/4. So those are those 2 pieces. This one was scored with the short side at the top, so we're going to rotate that and cut this at 5 1/2. Okay, that's all the cutting we're going to do on this video. So these are the 2 styles that you get with those 2 scoring and cutting. So if you score at 4 1/4, you're going to have a side fold card, and if you cut at 4 1/4, you're going to have a top fold card or a tent fold card, which still you could actually do this way and have your card open like this if you would like. All right, now we can craft. We're actually going to need those. So we are going to use the thank you sentiment from, again, the Simply Said. We are going to use the Baker's Twine Essential Pack. This actually does have another color that's being used on a different card, so it's not in this pack, it's with that other card. So you get white, is it called ivory? I'm still learning all these things, you guys. Very vanilla. So we have white, very vanilla, black. I'm gonna guess that this is smoky slate. Here's the glues. Oh, I did not mention the things that I don't have are the foam strips, the big foam. So they have, how big are these? 4.5 by 4 5/16 sheets of foam, double-sided foam, and then adhesive sheets like we had with Close to My Heart, and of course glue dots. Oh, I guess I could have put that in there and I didn't. All right, so our essentials. Crumb cake white, or crumb cake and white are 10 yards. Black, gray granite, and very vanilla are 5 yards. Interesting. And the other one we're going to use is the linen thread, and that comes with 15 yards on it. Okay. So these, I made 2 styles of this card to show you. It is the exact same pieces, so to speak. And by that, I mean that this piece comes as a 12 by 12, obviously, and there are 6 of these, so it's another row of these on top, right? So they are meant to be 4 by 6 pieces. Again, fits perfectly with the Memories and More card bases, but it makes super easy, fast, simple guy cards. Okay, so we talked about this last week. I still don't remember because I forgot to look up, but we do have the vanilla bean, we have the cocoa bean, and we have another kind of bean, but I don't recall, which is fine. All right, so I cut them into 4 by 6 pieces. And then to get this card, I cut off 3/8 from each end, so that we ended up with 5 1/4. And then put some black behind it, and a sentiment and some twine, and voila, we're done, right? And then did the same thing on the inside. Repeated the front, is what I mean to say. Okay. This one, I essentially did the same thing. I did cut down the piece more though, so that I could salvage some of the back side of it, because it is that pretty gold foil, grungy grid paper. So I wanted to keep as much of that as I could. So I trimmed that down before I cut it all out. So the black backer is the same. The only thing that's different is this piece is actually cut around the image, and this one is not. That in the twine color so that it would pop. So let's make this. We are going to make this copy and not this copy. just so that you know in advance. So we have one of those card bases, the same as what we just did, but this one is the last one from earlier. I have 2 pieces of black that are 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. I have a white inside, 4 by 5 1/4. Still gonna do that just like I always used to. So I have my front, also 4 by 5 1/4. And I have 2 of these pieces just in case I mess up the first one. And this is the little sentiment strip from that Simply Said, no, from that Something Fancy die set. All right, so let's do our only stamping, and we will be using Memento because of course we would like this to be black so that it matches the outline of the image. Voila. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the glue, right? I told you I would tell you some secrets. So it works essentially the same as any of the Tombow runners or the Close My Heart runners, with a few slight changes. A, you are going to press about half as hard as you ever thought you needed to with the Tombow runner. The harder you press, the less likely it is to work. So you need a super light touch. Okay. The next thing that you want is you want to pull straight up. So often we would just run it, lift slightly, and pull away, right? You're not going to want to do that. You're going to want to run and just lift up. Okay? So, run, lift up. It also does not click, so you're going to think it's not working. It is working. And straight up. That time it didn't work because it went back a little bit too far. So if for some reason it doesn't work, just roll it just like you saw me just do. Okay, the more upright you can have it to your paper, right? So you're going to roll kind of like this. You're going to stop, move it to this, and pull straight up. Okay. You could hold it like this. I have seen many people do that. All right, I'm giving you all these tips and it's going to be like, ha ha ha, we're going to show that you're not telling the truth. So you might find that easier to get it into the right position to lift up. So what happens if you don't, right, is if you do this and you just pull, you'll have kind of those strings attached, and then you'll pull it and you'll pop. We've seen it happen with the foam tape sometimes, right? It'll stick, it won't cut all the way. So it kind of does that same thing. So when it does that, when this part flops back to the roller, it generally will come back a little bit further than you want it to. So then you'll have a double layer of glue, which that part isn't a big deal, but it means that the glue is not here at the roller where you want it to be. Hopefully that made sense. So we are just going to center these pieces. I probably did not need to do those extra little bits, but that's just kind of habit. Like I said earlier, this glue is a strong glue. Alright, so let's see if I can get this to show you. So you can kind of see on the black a little bit better, right? So those are pretty square-ended pieces, right? So if you just do this and you just pull, you can kind of, it's not the best example, but you can kind of see at the end, there we go. So it's not pressed down, so it's not dark like the rest of it. It's just kind of there. Right, and so you can see how the next one started. Again, it's not dark. You can see it there. It looks dark in that light, but when we move it, it's not dark, which means it's not pressed into the paper, right? That was something that we learned with the flip flaps, right? We want it fully burnished in there. Oh. Okay, so holding it like this, while it looks weird, it might feel weird. It will end up maybe helping you. Alright, so let's see. I think this way because of how those are, right? Or maybe we should make this one horizontal. Maybe we'll do that to have a little bit of variety. Alright, let's add our front on. Alright, we're almost done with that card. We're going to run a little bit of glue on the back side here of our thank you. And we're going to grab our black. And we're just going to peel off a little bit. And we're going to start by just leaving a little bit off the edge. And we're going to create a loop. And this is kind of futzy at first because we're not used to working with it. Right, so there's one loop. I'm going to twist it and make another loop, kind of diagonal from that. So I want it to overlap so it looks like an 8. Right, I've not perfected this yet here. And we're using the glue to obviously hold that in place where we want it. Nope, don't do that. And as you can see, this glue, it's a good sticker. Alright. And then we'll just trim this off. And we are ready for our foam tape, our dimensionals. going to use more than I probably need. Hello, Otis. Please stop. No. Okay. And then just peel these off and put this, oh yeah, we're doing this way. Right, yep. And just like that, and we have our card done. So you could do any other pop of color if you'd like instead of the black. I just thought the black was a super nice accent to have with the image that's on this paper. Right, super simple, super easy. So if you didn't cut any of them out, you could have 6 cards in a flash. All right, next. We are going to add the painted lavender stamp set and coordinating dies to our stash of what we're using. We are going to use Gorgeous Grape and Shaded Spruce inks. So let's go ahead and do some stamping first. So because I don't have very many colors, I am very much pulling in the ability to use 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th generation stamping in the projects because I can, and because these inks do it really, really well. Okay, so we are also going to use, so here's that crumb cake ribbon, and we're going to use the Purple Fine Shimmer Gems. Oh goodness, I'm trying to grab everything out of my little tub here, and it wants to be difficult. Okay, so let's do our stamping first. So you've seen me pull this in. This is the oh my gosh, Stampin' Pierce mat. I had it in my brain and then it disappeared. So this actually is the card that we're making. I don't know why it does not want to focus. And then of course the inside. So our card base is the Gorgeous Grape, and you can see those tag dies come into play, all sorts of fun. So stamping, we have a few different options. I do have it pre-done also, so there is that, and I do have one piece to cut. I wanted to show you how well that little mini baby boss works. That's what I'm calling it, is a baby boss. All right. I'm going to use my scrap from earlier. We are going to make sure that we grab the right color. This one should be green. Yes. All right. So like I said last week, if the stamp is larger than the ink pad, I'm going to lay down the stamp and use the ink pad to ink up, versus if I was using this size of an ink pad with this stamp, I would do the reverse, right? I would put the ink pad down and use the stamp to pick up the ink. All right. So I just want some kind of grass across the bottom. And do a little bit more to get all the way across. Okay. Done with the grass. Done with that piece. This one we are going to actually, yeah, we actually don't actually, I'm gonna see how many times I can say the word actually. Done with the green. I was going to use the stem and I ended up not using it. Went a slightly different direction. Okay, gorgeous grape. So the Miss You stamp, it's tiny. If it's on top, I'm just going to tap, tap, tap and stamp away. Right? Super easy. We are familiar with that. Okay, done stamping on that one. So for the next part, where's my, you have a few different options. As always, right? You've always had options. So you can pre-cut your piece and stamp onto that, or you can stamp on your white and then cut after the fact. Whatever you are comfortable with. So because this is a kind of a two-step stamp, then and we want the smaller step to be darker, that means we need the larger step to be lighter. And if we have only one color, that means yes, we're going to do second generation stamp. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp my first generation onto this paper, and then I'm going to attempt to stamp the second generation onto our die cut here. It's a little bit harder on camera because all of the stuff is in the way. And this is really wanting to resist the ink today. Oh, it's close. Not too shabby. I can deal with that. Okay. And then for this one, actually, I haven't cleaned it, but I'm hoping that this will help a little bit. I had done this part, of course, before I used it the first time. I'm going to keep stamping my thumb here. And then we're going to go with the second generation over here. And it kind of fills it in. I don't know if I'm going to use that just yet, but since we have it, it's worth it to just use it, right? All right, and that is all of our stamping. So now we have our piece. Because we die cut it first, we can do that. Or we could then die cut this as well. So you could do a 2-in-1 type of a thing. So you could always put this inside the card. Or if you wanted, because we do have that white inside, you could use your white to do that first full generation stamping on. Okay. So let's do some super quick die cutting. This is going to be maybe loud, maybe not. I don't know why I put this away. I need this. So we're going to use the largest tag. And these line up like any other die cutting machine plates line up. Now, if for some reason, okay, I know the reason. If when you are doing this and you start your die through and it does not want to go through, you are trying and trying and trying and it does not want to go through, you're probably doing it like this so they're all lined up, right? So if that is the case, I highly recommend moving your middle one down and your top and bottom up so they line up, so that it can grab like this as I drop everything, and then it can feed through. Kind of like, you know, when you lick the end of a piece of thread to fit it through the needle. Same concept. I know it doesn't seem like it, but trust me, it really is. All right, so we are going to line these up, and I'm going to take my 1/8 inch punch, which I've had for ages and ages. And I'm just going to punch these. Apparently not very centered, but that's okay. Alright, so we are going to put just the tiniest bit of adhesive on the back of this piece. We are going to line up those holes and then just kind of glue it down. So that is one piece. Let's go ahead and add some dimensionals on here. Again, you know me, I use more than I probably need. All right, so we're not going to take those off just yet. I will, though, bring in my scissors, and I am just going to cut the edges. And I need just that tiny little piece to put at the very bottom of our lavender. Okay, just like that. Okay, now let's do our twine. So I tend to work off the spool, like many of you, so I can waste as little as possible. So I'm just going to go ahead and create a loop. Yes, I know it's going to be too much. That's okay. I'm going to show you how to work with that. So we're going to go back to front with our loop end, right? So we have this. This is what we have. We know that our loop is not going to be very big, and we don't want our end this long. So we're going to let go of that end, and we're going to pull the one that's still attached to the spool, and we're going to pull until our end is as long as we want it, ish, right? It might not be perfect, but it'll be pretty close. So if you keep your finger in there, right, this will move pretty smoothly, and you can make it longer, you can make it shorter, super easy. And then you don't have to know in advance, and you don't have to cut it in advance. You can make a guess, grab a hold of things, and make a cut. Right? Then you can take those pieces, feed them through that loop that your finger's in, and pull. Right? So next up, we're going to take that same string that's on the spool, and we are going to tie a bow. This one, not quite as easy to get the right amount of length, because if you're like me, you need it to be a little bit longer so your fingers can be in the way, right? So we're just going to tie that first little knot, that first little bit, tie bow just like normal, making sure you grab the correct end pieces. Right, my bow is a bit larger than I'd like it, so I'm going to pinch with my pointer finger and my thumb, and I'm going to pull on the ends while pinching, and that will keep, usually, your bows from twisting. I know you know what I'm talking about. Those twisty bows are a pain at times. And somehow, alright, I'm going to untie this because I'm not quite sure how I just managed to do this. So that should have worked just fine. And for some reason, so I'm making sure, so my little antenna here, I want to make sure that they go to both sides. It didn't want to go back just a moment ago, so that was part of my confusion, because we're going to use those little antennas as part of our extra ends. Right, so we want to make sure that everything is on its own side. So here is the perfect example of if I were to just pull this end right here, right now, this side is going to twist and twirl, and we don't want that. So I'm going to hold it and pull, and it will keep it from doing that. It's the niftiest little trick. I don't know why it works, I just know that it works. Alright, then we have two ends on either side, and they're fairly close. So that one is a little bit shorter, so let's go ahead and make them all kind of the same length. So then we only have just a little bit of waste. All right, so let's go ahead and attach some of these pieces. So we have these two pieces are both 4 by 5 1/4. One's going to go on the inside, one's going to go on the front. And of course we have our 1/2 inch by 4. That's going to go at the bottom. I will admit I've had seen people, other demonstrators, in their videos hold their tape like this, and it did not make any sense to me on why they did it that way until I was playing with it and understood instantly. Alright, we're going to make sure that our paper is right side up. Same for the inside. Alright, so we are going to lay everything out. And we want this purple tag just to kind of hang out underneath. So we want to, I'm going to just leave it laying there like that. Right, we placed it visually. We're going to go ahead and peel these backings off. They peel off so nicely. Like, it's kind of crazy. Alright, so we're gonna lay this down enough to pick up our gorgeous grape. Give it a little press. Give it a little bit of extra glue. And press that down. Okay. Use just a smidge of some Tombow glue. Bring this down so that it looks like it's sitting at the bottom of that purple tag. Hold it for just a few seconds so that glue can attach. And voila, we have our card. Now, I'm going to use take my pick tool, take your pick tool. This, guys, this is super handy. I am loving this thing. So it comes with, where's my little baggie? So it comes in this little baggie. It has all of this stuff. Okay, so these are all detachable. That's detachable too, but I'm not going to mess with it because I don't want to squirt out all the stuff. So you have a refill for that. So you have 2 of those in a pack. You have scoring stylus, small and large, a piercing end, and a little spatula end. Right, and this little cover fits on both sides, on both pieces. So regardless of which one you're using, you have your tool protected. And as you can see, it locks. So it only kind of fits in one way. If you put it in the wrong way, it's not going to go. So it fits in and you lock it. Just like that. And then you can use it. Like, this is super handy. Right, and the take your pick, it's for this putty end, which you've seen me use in the past with other gadgets. Trying to move this piece, it doesn't want to move. So it's got the blue putty, kind of like your post-it or poster tape, whatever. So literally it's just a quicker picker sticker upper, whatever. All right, we need a couple of these gems. So you can kind of make your own decision on if you like the spatula end or if you like the piercing end for this. The gems sit on the sheets differently than Close to My Hearts did. So there is that. And this is not sticking very well. Oh, I don't really have foam tape underneath that end. Let me grab my tweezers real quick. Okay. All right, and then this card is done. right? Super cute, super simple, beautiful card, ready to go. All right, last but not least, this one uses my favorite paper. Here is the card. It's kind of a similar layout, like spatial wise, to our last card. Right, so you could change it up a little bit. You could twist it so you do it that way. Maybe that's what I'll do on this one. Okay, anyway, that is the card that we are making. So let's go ahead and tell you what we're using. So we're using, again, the Simply Said stamp set. We are using glue dots. We are using Pebbled Path ink, our linen thread, Tinsel Gems 4-pack. These are fun colors. It's called a 4-pack because it's got 4 colors in it. You just can't see the last one because of the package. Okay. We have a template here, and I'll explain that here in a moment. So we have 2 pieces that are 4 by 5 1/4, right? I love this paper. The back is not too shabby either, so you could easily do that back side on the card base, right? And that would be, oh, that would be super fun. Anyway, we're gonna do this one because it's my favorite, like I said. All right, 4 by 5 1/4, both. Of course, you have your 1/2 inch by 4 for the inside. We have, if you are like me and like to make your die cuts a little bit more sturdy, you can have 2 pieces. If you don't care about that, you can do just one. And all of these patterned papers, they're called DSP, Designer Series Paper, are all from the Country Woods paper packet. Paper line, whatever, something. Okay. So we have the Time Lookin' Leaf from the Lavender set. We have these 2 white pieces also from the Lavender set. We have a white circle and a wood circle. These are 3/4 of an inch. Pretty sure. I just needed something that looked like a button. So I took some really old Stampin' Up! Buttons. And I didn't want to use them on the card because, you know, they're not current. You guys can't get them. But I had this size or this size in this set, and this circle was, I think, a little bit too small. Although if it was put on top of another circle, it would have been okay. And this one was too big, but that inside circle is about the same size as this circle. So I used that to create my template, which I just did on a sticky note. And I used my pencil to create that circle. I just rubbed it with my fingernail first and then drew on it rather with the pencil, so it's a round circle. And then I'm just going to use that as my template. All right, so let's go ahead and glue these things together that need to be glued together. Normally I would do this with the liquid glue, so let's see how well this works. Hopefully it works well in my favor. Perfect. All right, next. Nope, gotta do it the right way. The other thing too is if your tape snaps, right, snaps back, it could snap up to the top here and then this becomes sticky. And this case is reusable, right? You can open it up, pull this out, right? This is your refill, and put it back in. And this case is the same for the Seal and the Seal Plus. So the only difference, besides the tape itself, is the color on the inside, which I forgot to point out earlier, but I'm sure you noticed. One is light blue and one is dark blue. And they do say on the refill itself what it is, so that'll be super easy for you to tell. All right, so this is a little bit easier with some light behind, so I apologize for not doing this part on screen. All right, so I just have my piece there, and again I'm going to come in with my 1/8 inch punch. Let go. Thank you. And now we have a button. All right, let's do some bow tying first. We're going to do kind of similar to what we did earlier, slightly. But before that, let's uncurl this a little bit. So take your bone folder and do like curling ribbon. Hold tight with your thumb and pull with your other hand. You do not want to do this fast because you will burn yourself. And you might need to do it more than once. All right, much better. Let's go ahead and do the end a little bit more. So I'm going to take a length of this. I'm not going to make it too long. This is maybe 3 inches. And I am going to go back to front. And then front to back. Now you can do that just one time, but to me it looked a little bit too not done. And this is not quite long enough, so let's make this a little bit, nope, wrong side, a little bit longer. So maybe do 4 inches instead of 3 inches. Alright, so then I'm just going to do that again, so it's essentially two passes. If you have your needle threader, that would make this easier. But if not, that's okay. It is doable without it. Alright, so now we have 2 passes. And this still was not quite long enough for what I wanted, but that's okay. We will make this work. Let's see if we can get this. There we go. So I just adjusted it just a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the loop end. It is easier to do with it still as a loop, which is why I did that. Okay. So on mine, I did cross it over on top of itself like this, but that's kind of up to you. If you don't, it kind of hides how open those holes are. So I'm going to take a glue dot and attach that. Okay, now I am going to do 2 loops around my fingers. And then I'm going to pinch it together so that we then have essentially a little loop, right? I am going to flip it over, and I'll explain why here in a second. Because I'm right-handed, this next part is easiest if I have what is on the spool on the right side. If you are left-handed, feel free to keep it how it was. All right, so I am going to make sure that this is not in the center here, like it is. Let's adjust this. There we go. All right, so we have our loops. Oh, don't let go of it like that. All right, so we have our loops. Then what we're going to do is we are going to take our twine and we're going to wrap it 3 times. And we are going to pull it tight, but you might need to wait until the second loop to do that. Oops. Okay. Try not to tug on things that you don't want to tug on. All right, so we're going to go ahead and cut this. And then we are going to just tie this in that single knot like you do when you're tying your shoes. Just one. Right? It doesn't have to be super pretty. We just want it to be tight. And you do need to make sure to hold your wrap that you did when you're tightening it, because otherwise it's just going to pull your loops. Okay. So that essentially gives you your bow. Right? And then we're just going to drop this right down on top of it. And now we have a pretty bow behind a button with lots of extra little strings. Okay, so you can trim them so they're all similar lengths. They don't have to be the same, but you want them to be close, obviously. So that is the, all of the excess for that we trimmed off. So that's not really very much waste between the 2 cards, just those 4 pieces. All right. So we are now going to trim some of these because they are longer than we want them. So definitely trimming off the super straight pieces. Doing that first. Right, we are not going to use those. Now these 2 pieces come as one single die in the set. You can see one is clearly longer than the other, so we're going to go ahead and trim one of these down so that we can have 3 pieces. And let's go ahead and poke out the centers here. Now, if you want to, you can do the stamped and die cut pieces to go on top of these. I just wanted them to be kind of some white greenery. So let's, oh, one more trim. So we are trimming this also into two pieces. So this is connected here, so I'm going to cut this. And then I am going to trim about here. So I'm trying to make it look cohesive where I trim it. So if you need to do any like adjusting, you can. All right, so there are all of our pieces ready to be dealt with. So we need to stamp and then we can glue. We are stamping hello, and again we are using that Pebbled Path ink. And this one, the stamp and the ink pad are only slightly different, so you could do that either direction. I sure hope that's straight. Straight enough. All right, now it is time to glue everything together. We're almost done. I showed you guys how to do that, and then I keep not doing it the right way. Not being a very good teacher tonight. So keep in mind that whichever one you glue first of your papers, you want to make sure that the other one is glued in that same way. So this cardstock is very nice for cards. It is just under, the GSM is just under that of another large name brand white cardstock that the crafting community loves. So they feel very, very similar. As a matter of fact, most people probably wouldn't be able to tell the difference if I handed them two different sheets and asked them which one was which. Just saying. Alright, so I am just going to glue this on right about here. Such a fun wood texture. Okay, so you know what? Let's see about doing this a slightly easier way than I did it before. Let's take a glue dot. Now, these are glue dots that I had left over. I am unsure of the actual size of glue dots that Stampin' Up! Carries. So if it is a smaller one, then I apologize for the size. Alright, so we are going to do our white pieces first. We want our long piece to be on kind of the left side. And our next longest piece to be on, well, we actually want the pointed end to be in the center. So let's go ahead and put that one there. Alright, so we have these all glued, but there's still a ton of movement available, so that's nice. Let's do another glue dot. Apparently this one is going to be glue dot heavy, but that's okay. And then we will add the thyme leaves. And you know, this one's kind of up to you as to which one goes in which way. And then one more glue dot. And then that will cover up all of the mess and the other glue dots. Super fun, right? All right, now let's add, of course, our dimensionals. Because you know it's not a Michelle card without dimensionals. Alright, 2 steps left. If you don't count taking off the backings as a step. I count it as part of attaching this piece. So I did say I was going to maybe do it this way. Well, why not? Let's do it this way. Have some variety in our life, right? Now, do be careful. Some of these, which I learned, are actually glued into the container. So if you try to grab the sheet and pull it out, you'll pull these off. And that is definitely not really what we want to do. And voila. That is card number 3. So, I really like how these turned out. All 3 of them. I finally cut into my paper. My brain didn't want to, right? It wanted to keep all the pretty paper. All right, those are our cards for tonight. So thank you so much for taking the time to watch the video with me. If you are not part of my Facebook page and group, I invite you to come join us. And I'm going to be starting a few things in there that I think you will have fun doing and taking part in. So if these inspired you to use your papers, whether they be the same papers or different papers, I would love to see the creations that you make that are inspired by this. So thank you again for taking the time to join me tonight, and I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Thanks. Bye.